Imagine a force so disciplined, so battle-hardened, that merely its presence could break an enemy's will. A legion whispered about in awe, feared by barbarians, and utterly devoted to one man, a man who would defy the Republic itself. This is not just a story of soldiers. It's the saga of Julius Caesar's ultimate weapon, his unbreakable shield, his most elite army. This is the 10th Legion. Before he was the undisputed master of Rome, Julius Caesar was a rising star, an ambitious general serving in Hispania Ulterior. He knew that true power didn't just lie in political maneuvering, but in the unwavering loyalty of a professional army. And so, in 61 BC, Caesar personally raised a new legion. He called it the Legio X. These weren't conscripted farmers. These were hardened men, volunteers drawn by Caesar's charisma and the promise of glory. They were meticulously trained, instilled with an iron discipline, and taught to fight as a single, unyielding entity. This wasn't just an army, this was Caesar's army, and their bond would soon be tested in the crucible of conquest. What made a Roman legion, especially the 10th, so formidable? It was a combination of organization, discipline, and sheer brutality. At its heart were centuries of 80 men, led by a seasoned centurion, the backbone of the Roman army. 10 centuries formed a cohort, and 10 cohorts made up the entire legion. Roughly 5,000 elite fighting men, each a cog in a perfectly synchronized machine. Every soldier, from the newest recruit to the grizzled veteran, had a relentless routine. Days began before dawn. Training was constant, marching up to 20 miles a day in full armor. Weapons drills, perfecting the deadly thrust of the gladius, the precise throw of the pilum, field engineering, building fortifications, digging trenches, erecting palisades, often within hours. Discipline, punishments were legendarily harsh. A soldier falling asleep on guard duty could be beaten to death by his own comrades in a ritual called the fustuarium. If an entire unit showed cowardice, they faced decimation, where every 10th man was chosen by lot and killed by the other 9. This brutal system forged unbreakable bonds and unwavering obedience. This wasn't just training for the sake of it. Caesar was about to unleash them on one of history's most ambitious campaigns, the conquest of Gaul, and the 10th Legion would be at the forefront of every brutal fight. So who were the Gauls? To the Romans, Gaul was a vast, chaotic land north of Italy, a patchwork of hundreds of Celtic tribes. They were not a single nation, but a fierce, sophisticated, and often warring people. They were rich in resources, skilled in metalworking, and, most importantly, they were a perceived threat to Rome's northern border. The Gallic Wars began under a pretext. When the Helvetii tribe began a mass migration, threatening Roman allies, Caesar used his authority as governor to intervene. But his true motives were far more personal. Caesar was deeply in debt and desperately needed military glory and vast wealth to advance his political career back in Rome. Gaul was his golden ticket. For 8 brutal years, Caesar carved an empire out of these barbarian lands, and the 10th Legion consistently delivered victory. They faced towering Gauls, fierce Germanic tribes, and cunning guerrilla tactics. One moment stands out: the Battle of the Sabis against the Nervi. Caesar's legions were caught off guard, suddenly ambushed by a massive tribal force. It was here that the 10th, fighting on Caesar's left flank, not only held the line but launched a desperate counterattack, turning the tide of the entire battle. It was in Gaul they earned their iconic nickname equestres, or mounted, after a desperate moment when Caesar, lacking cavalry, mounted the legionaries of the 10th on horses to deceive an enemy, a testament to their adaptability and his trust. By the end of the Gallic Wars, the 10th wasn't just a legion, it was the legion, unbeaten, unstoppable. But as Caesar's glory grew, so did the fear and jealousy back in Rome. His political enemies in the Senate, the conservative aristocrats known as the Optimates, saw him as a threat to their power. Their champion was another legendary general, Pompey the Great. They passed laws designed to strip Caesar of his command and his legal immunity. Why did Caesar have to cross the river? Because he was cornered. His enemies had made it clear. If he returned to Rome without his army, he would be prosecuted on trumped-up charges, his career destroyed, his reputation, his dignitas shattered. For a Roman noble, this was a fate worse than death. To stand down was to accept ruin. His only other choice was to advance. So why a rebellion? Because he believed the Republic was being run by a corrupt, self-serving oligarchy. Caesar was a populist, a popular. He championed land reforms for soldiers and aid for the poor, which made him a hero to the common people and a menace to the elite. He didn't want a throne in the way a king would. but the very word king was poison in Rome. He wanted the ultimate authority to fix a broken system and secure his place in history. On January 10th, 49 BC, Caesar stood at the banks of the Rubicon River, the legal boundary. To cross it with his army meant civil war. He famously declared, "Alea iacta est," the die is cast. And who stood with him? The 10th Legion. Without hesitation, their loyalty to Caesar, the general who had led them to glory and promised them everything, outweighed their duty to a distant Senate they believed was betraying him. The civil war was brutal, Roman against Roman. But at every crucial moment, the 10th Legion proved their worth. At the Battle of Pharsalus against Pompey, they held a critical flank, routing his forces. At Munda, they delivered the final bloody blow that ended the war and secured Caesar's total victory. With his enemies defeated, Caesar returned to Rome not just as a triumphant general, but as the undisputed master of the Roman world. He was appointed dictator for life, wielding unprecedented power. And his loyal 10th Legion, the instrument of his victory, shared in his glory. These men, who had marched from Gaul to Egypt, from Hispania to Greece, had transformed Rome. They were the muscle behind Caesar's ambition, the steel that reshaped the Republic into an autocratic regime. Their devotion had paved the way for the end of the Republic and the dawn of what would eventually become the Roman Empire. But even the most loyal legions have an end, and even the most powerful rulers face ultimate challenges. After years of relentless campaigning, Caesar knew his veteran legions deserved their reward. Many of the original soldiers of the 10th Legion were honorably discharged, settled on land grants, and retired as heroes of Rome. Following Caesar's assassination in 44 BC, the 10th Legion, or rather the spirit of the 10th, and its surviving veterans and recruits, found itself in the complicated power struggles that followed. Some units were involved in the conflict between Mark Antony and Octavian. The legacy of the 10th, their discipline and unwavering loyalty, certainly influenced the new regime. Under Octavian, who would become Augustus, the first Roman emperor, the legions were reorganized. The Legio Ex Equestris eventually underwent significant changes, its identity merging into the famous Legio Ex Gemina, the Twin Legion, which would guard the frontiers of the new empire for centuries to come. The Legio Ex Equestri, Caesar's personal sword and shield, was more than just a military unit. They were a testament to the power of unwavering loyalty, ruthless efficiency, and the bond between a general and his men. They marched with Caesar into rebellion, conquered nations, and stood by him as he reshaped the very fabric of Rome. Their story is a dramatic reminder that behind every great leader, there often stands an even greater, utterly devoted army, the 10th Legion, unstoppable, legendary, and forever etched into the annals of Roman history.